Hi there. I'm Christine Dunbar from speechmodification.com, and this is my Smart American Accent training. Welcome to our live Friday question and answer class. We meet each week at this time, and I take your questions about American English pronunciation, American accent, whatever can help you become more fluent and feel more confident as you're speaking American English. At the start of class today, I'd like to take a look at a couple of sentences, specifically at how we use the words can and can't, and mostly how we pronounce them and how you can know which one we're using. This is definitely something that many people ask about in this class, and it can be quite challenging because the spelling and the pronunciation of these words vary depending on how we're using it. And then we'll also look at the reductions for the words to and him is part of this. So first of all, if I'm saying the phrase, I can talk to him, you can hear how I don't say, I can talk to him. I don't speak word by word. It does flow together. And because of that, things become reduced and linked together for fluent speech. So the main reduction in I can talk to him is that I don't say I can with the vowel. It gets reduced to more of almost no vowel there. I can talk, I can talk. That's because talk is more important than can in this phrase. So if I'm just saying, yes, I can, I will use a clear vowel and I'll say can. But I can talk, I can go, I can listen. Those cans get reduced and they sound like can, maybe even can with a little sound, but almost no vowel. I can talk to him. I can talk to him. And then you can also see that I don't use to him. I end up reducing this ooh in to more of a ta. And in this case, I might even drop the H of him. So it might sound like I can talk to him, talk to him, talk to him. It's okay to use to him. I typically am not going to do the ooh of to, though. Not talk to him, but talk to him, or talk to him. So the him, the H of him, words like he, him, his, sometimes that H gets reduced depending on the context. I do have some lessons and videos about that H dropping off and other lessons about reductions and linking that you can check out in our Real Talk course on speechmodification.com. If you're looking for some of the differences in what you hear from native speakers versus how you notice yourself speaking, that course is a great resource for learning about these types of things. So then when we get to the word can't, this one is more tricky. If I'm saying it by itself, can't, I will say that T sound. But typically, native speakers don't really aspirate those T's at the end of can't. So they can say, I can't talk to him. I can't. And what they'll do there is that they stop their T and they don't release the air. So rather than can't with a burst of air, it sounds like can't. I'm not saying can there, you can hear, because my N is very short. I am blocking the air with my tongue lifted in the T position. Can't. I can't talk right now. I can't do it. I can't. And I do use that true vowel of can't versus I can talk. I can go. No vowel there. Here, I can't do it. So that's tricky. It's perfectly fine when you're speaking to say, I can't talk. But you can hear how it doesn't sound very smooth because there I have to do two T's. I can't talk. I can't talk to him. If you can learn to make that stopped T and then release just into that next T of talk, I can't talk. I can't go. I can't do it. That's how native speakers will do it. And that's why it's so tricky to hear whether someone's saying can or can't. Of course, you can use the strategy some people use of saying cannot to make sure that it's very clear that you're saying can't rather than can. But it's probably better and more natural to use this can't and just learn to make that stop T or say it with a light T. I can't go. Typically, Americans will very rarely say cannot or do not. The only place we would do that is if I'm saying I cannot stand it, or if I'm doing something where I'm really emphasizing I cannot go. It sounds a little harsh, very naturally, and in our ordinary speech, we'll just say can't rather than cannot. Here I wrote another way of looking at the to him rather than Tim, but you can use either one there. So I can talk to him. I can't talk to him. You can hear how I've said I can talk to him. It changes the meaning of the sentence because I'm using that stress on can with the clear vowel. And that's sort of like correcting. No, I can talk to him. Of course, there's different versions of these and every sentence, depending on if we're changing the meaning and stressing a different word, it will change the pronunciation a little bit. You can learn more about that, those intonation patterns, in our playlist of videos about intonation, as well as in our American Accent 6-week course. It's a really good resource for looking at pronunciation and intonation and how they interact, and having that making yourself clear when you're speaking English. So thank you for listening to that opening lesson. Let's look now to your questions about American English pronunciation, American accent. Do feel free to type your questions at any time during the live broadcast. And if you're watching this as a replay, you can put questions in the comments and I'll follow up with you with videos and resources for you to help you, or I'll cover your questions or your words in a future Word of the Day class. Okay, so we have a question about the word current or currently. So let's talk about that. So current has the same thing like can't, where I'm going to use that stop T at the end. It's okay to say current events, currently, but you'll hear that currently, if I say it that way, it doesn't sound like native speaker. So that may be part of your struggle. Let's break it down the rest of the way to make sure we cover all the things that might be happening for you. So current and currently have first syllable stress. That means the cur is stressed, and we have the sound there. I could also write that with the stressed It's the same as in curb or bird or person. All of these, UR, ER, IR, OR, and AR can also all say that stressed And then current, what we have here is we don't really say currently. We don't use much of a clear vowel there because this is the reduced syllable. We might have a little bit of a schwa, like another sound. We might also go right to that N. Current. You're going to try to keep that as short as possible. Then your N is also going to be fairly short because it's unstressed, and we have our tongue going up for that stop T, current. And then if I have currently, I'm just going to release into the lee and have a clear vowel there. So I would rewrite that as currently. Current or currently. Good word. Thank you for that request. I hope that helps you. It is definitely challenging because there's some very typical American patterns that occur in that word. Okay, we have a question about premiere. So in premiere, the mere is the stress syllable. Maybe rewriting it like this word mere can help you, or even starting just with ear, mere, premiere. And then because this is the unstressed first syllable, we're going to have a schwa there. Sounds like for any word that's stressed on the second or third or fourth syllable rather than the first, it can be very helpful to start on that stressed syllable and then just add your unstressed syllable to the stressed syllable. So it would sound like mere, premiere. That helps you get the rhythm of short, long, and helps your mouth focus on that the ear is the important part, or the mere, and that's where you need your length. Anytime there's an R, just saying that sounds with the R first also sets up your mouth to be ready for it when you get there. So saying mere or ear, mere, premiere, you might find that helps you build that word. Thank you. That's a good request. Okay. We have a question about follow up with you. So to follow up with someone means to check in again with them later or to talk to them later. I'll follow up with you means I'll contact you again. We'll pick up this subject of conversation or take care of this thing that we're talking about in the future. Accepting responsibility that, okay, I'll follow up with you. I'll check back with you. I'll call you again, email you again. We'll deal with this situation. So yes, we have follow up, follow through. I think that might be it for follow. Great. Okay. We have question. Hello, Orlando. Nice to see you. We have good, would, and God. So good and would have our vowel we call that the good book vowel. This would is the same as this would, as in I would like. And so what you want to try to avoid is you don't want to go into the ooh, not too tense, not like good, but rather the good. I also like using the word should to help with those because the sh has that kind of same lax rounding that we need for the should, good, would, versus God. This O is our not hot vowel, and I typically want to rewrite that with A or AH, especially for Spanish speakers, knowing that thinking of it as the ah sound that you associate with letter A might help you. So thinking about God. So you can also pair another word that could help you. So I would talk about saying, should it be good? Or also maybe put or push good versus not God or job, God, got, God. Or if it helps to have the A, and this is a phrase, God the Father, Father, God, kind of associating that same vowel. That's a great request. Thank you so much, Orlando. Next, we have a question about balloons and blooms. So for balloons, we have second syllable stress. So letter A in balloons is actually a vowel schwa. So it sounds like ba. So when we see this, if we're visualizing like ball or the A, we might be associating with that ah or ah vowel, and we really want to think of it as an ba, balloons. My same trick that we did with premier, second syllable stress, can help you to get the stress correct in balloons, in which case you would think about starting with loons, balloons, short, long. So we have the oo vowel. The letter S says the Z sound for the plural balloons. And then for blooms, the difference here is it's one syllable. So we have balloons. You see how there's a vowel sound between the B and the L versus in blooms, I need to go very quickly just from the B to the ul sound. I don't want any vowel in there if I can help it. So we go right there. We also have the M sound versus the N in balloons. And for this, I would try saying looms, blooms, blooms. So I have to have my tongue really ready to lift up for that L right after my B. Not balloons, but blooms. So again, trying looms, blooms might be helpful for you. So the flower blooms, and I gave him some balloons. Yeah, really good request. I can see why those words are quite similar and why they might give you some trouble. Okay, great. Question about the phrase as though you've lived longer. As though you've lived longer. So as though you've lived longer. Not much to say about that really besides as though you've, for you've. This is something that people don't always feel comfortable with contractions. So just noting that it's one syllable. It's not you have or you have. There's no vowel for the have word there. So thinking about it like you've, as though you've, and then as though you've lived longer, for lived, again, kind of thinking about it one syllable. We have to just go right from the v to the d. Your other phrases, that it did during our, and it does more harm than good. If you have specific questions about within those phrases, about any of those words, let me know. I'll say them one more time just so you can hear how they sound in fluent speech. You are asking for that it did during our, and it does more harm than good. Okay. So question about reaching out. So yes, when I was describing following up, I was thinking of a lot of other phrasal verbs and idioms for what that means. So we use so many of those in English, and it can be tricky knowing which phrasal verb to use. So reaching out means similar to the literal. If I reach out for something, I'm reaching with my hand to grab it. If I reach out to you, I'm not necessarily literally doing it with my hand, but I will initiate an email, a call, a contact. So I reach out to my subscribers by posting on my community page. She reaches out to the community by sending a newsletter, by going out in the community and talking to people. Yeah, that's what reaching out means. And then, okay, hopefully that helps you. I do have a playlist with some phrasal verbs. There are so many. I do recommend when you're learning verbs, looking through the dictionary or a phrasal verbs list to learn about reach out, reach in, reach, follow up, follow, follow after, etc. Those different kinds of how the word changes its meaning a little bit depending on if it's used with a certain preposition or not. Okay, I have a question about mussel and mussel, ferry, and ferry. So the question was, does mussel, like the sea creature, and do mussel and muscle, like muscles in your body, are they the same? And yes, they are. They're both first syllable stress, vowel schwa, and then a syllabic L after your S, muscle. So this one is probably easier to think of the pronunciation based on the spelling. This one's a little strange because of that C in there. But the EL, LE, this is the same sound. They're both syllabic L, a little bit of a schwa there, muscle, muscle. And then your other question was ferry, the fictional creature, and ferry, the boat or the process of ferrying something. And yes, these are also the same. So we have the ER and the AIR both say the air vowel. Same as this kind of fare, like the fare I pay to ride the bus. I often think of it as air because that's the word that is just for the sounds air, but we can spell the air diphthong in lots of different ways. So we end up with ferry and ferry. I also have a lot of videos about homophones like these, but feel free to ask those types of questions. And it can be helpful to recognize the sounds in the words and the different ways we spell them. You can get more help for that in my short videos about each sound in English, and also in our Sounds of English course. I go through all of the sounds, the different ways they're spelled, common words they're in. That can help you really build a strong foundation for understanding the complexities of how we spell things versus how we pronounce things. That's really definitely one of the biggest challenges in English, is our inconsistency with spelling. There are certainly patterns that you can also learn, and learning to use resources like the dictionary can be very helpful, recognizing what the different sounds are. It's definitely a challenge, but with time and practice, it becomes easier. Okay, great. We have a question about The phrase full of firsts. Okay, so full of firsts. First of all, we would probably link full and of. This vowel in full is what Orlando was talking about in good and would. It's our vowel. So we have full, love. Our main stress is going to be on firsts in this phrase. There's our that we were talking about earlier. Okay, so I would think of it as full of firsts. Full of firsts. And then you also asked about relative to and a pattern of. So relative to, if I'm just saying that by itself, I might say relative to with a break, use a clear vowel on oo. If in a phrase though, in connected speech, I might say relative to, or relative to. So the oo is probably going to get reduced to a schwa relative to previously. And then relative to, this can become a flap and sound more like a D, or it can sound like an Relative, we also have a flap here for this T, first syllable stress, so it sounds like relative. Relative to 2020, we unfortunately still have many, many COVID cases, for example. Okay, then your last request was a pattern of. Again, we have our of, which is a schwa and a V, pattern of. Pattern and of are going to link. We're going to have a flap here, so it's more like a D in the middle, and then just starting again with a pattern of. A pattern of talking, a pattern of speech, a pattern of pronunciation. Great. So thank you for those requests. We have a question about words like mountain with the T. So I do have a video talking about mountain, button, certain, these words that have the TAIN ending. How we do these is typically we mountain, we use a stopped T there, which means it's going to make my N shorter, both and then I'm also going to use a syllabic N. So it really sounds like this is the ow vowel. So kind of, I'll write it this way, mount. I'm not going to release that T, mount, and then I'm just going to do 2 short ends there. After class, I'll go through and put some timestamps in for this video, and I'll give you a link to the video I have about mountain and button to help you get that combination of that stopped T and syllabic N, because it's pretty tricky. But it's doable. I'm kind of thinking about letting go of the vowel there and making that stop T usually will help you quite a bit. You can say mountain with a true T and a little bit of a schwa there, mountain. People do both. They'll say mountain or mountain. But probably what's giving you trouble is the fact that a lot of times native speakers will use that stop T in that word. It definitely is a tough one. So thank you for that request. Okay, we have a question about pronouncing quoted versus coded. So quoted and coded. So both of them have the flap. This is a D here and a T here, but it's the same sound, the D. The ED sounds like id, so thinking of did at the end. For quoted, what you want is the Q says qua. So it can help to do just the O, and then with the W part, wo, quo. And then coded is just the K sound. So we have coded versus quoted. Sometimes people have trouble putting the W before the O. So if you're quoted, if your W part drops, then it's going to sound like coded. So try to just do it with first just woe, woted, quoted. The W and the rounded O is, you have to make sure you have both sounds there, not just the O. I have a lot of videos with QU words in our Word of the Day playlist, and that might help you with some of those others as well. Okay, I'll come back to your other requests since I want to make sure I give everyone a chance. If there's still time at the end, we'll circle back to getting to wrapped in. You probably want getting to wrapped up in. We don't tend to say wrapped in, but wrapped up in, and pioneered. We'll come back to those. Okay. We have a question about shout outs. Is the second syllable diphthong the weak cat vowel plus U as in book, or is it an A as in lot and U? Okay, so let's just talk about shout outs. It's the same vowel, shout out, in both of these. I do have a video for how to pronounce shout out. So I'll direct you to that again after class. I'll put a timestamp and a link to the video. But the ow diphthong, we sometimes see it like this in words like now or cow. I recently covered this for my channel members and our members videos, but basically you've seen in the dictionary, it's this combination. And what we're doing is we're actually not using an a or an ah for this starting vowel here. It actually starts at a vowel in the middle. So we don't have this vowel by itself in English. We don't say this. In Spanish, your letter A is going to be this ah here. You hear how we have a like cat and ah like hot. Very forward, very back. The ah is more in the middle. So of these two, for American English, it's much closer than this. If you have the ah, you can go with that. But what you'll notice is that when I'm going to the of push, when I'm doing that glide for ow, if I start here, oh, it's going to start too far back. So I also don't want ow. It's not not way forward, but ow, ow. So this is the same starting place that we have for R and the I diphthongs. So getting used to kind of the tongue is central and then gliding into this that we have in push and good book that we talked about earlier in class. Ow. The other thing about diphthongs is that I'm not doing an ah and an It's not two sounds, it's one sound. It's the sound that happens as I'm doing that glide. Ow. Shout out. Ow, ow. So I'm closing my jaw, lifting my tongue, and gently rounding to a lax rounded position. Ow. You can see the movement. Ow. That if I'm just doing or ah, it's neither one of those. It's between. So that's the short course on diphthong ow. But that's a good question about where it starts from. And it's tricky because, as I said before, we don't have this sound by itself in English. So I can't tell you a word that has this, except for in the context of these diphthongs of ow, I, and r. Great question. Thank you so much. Okay. Question about whether pattern sounds like pardon. Not really. So pattern has the a vowel. Pardon has the r with that r starting r diphthong that we just talked about. And then pardon is pardon versus pattern. The R is in a different place, right? We have pattern. So pattern and pardon. Little bit of different order of sounds. So make sure that you're noticing that difference. Great. Okay. We're getting short on time, so I'll just take a few more requests and questions. I apologize in advance if I don't get to yours today. I'll go back through after class, and if there's relevant videos that I already have, I can direct you to those. You can also join our channel as a channel member, and channel members can ask their questions at any time throughout the week, and I'll cover them for them each week. We're looking for a new time. We had been doing Sundays for our members class, and I might be moving that to Saturdays. But that's an opportunity where it doesn't matter if you can attend the live class as a channel member. You can ask your question at any point, and then I'll cover the answer for you, and you can just watch the replay at your convenience. So if the Friday classes get so busy and we don't always have an opportunity for everyone's questions, you might consider joining the channel. It's just an option. You can click the join button to see other perks we offer there. So for the last few questions, we have a question about to go through and go over something can mean to analyze and explain some topic. Yes, to go through something to explain I can either do that by myself. I can go through the content and learn it, or go over something is to explain to someone else. Yes. And then question about S after TH or vice versa, with some or is there. I do have a couple videos about that, so I'll refer you to those after class, give you a link to where you can see me talking about that. Basically, the TH sound is more forward and the S sound is a little more back with some. So I just have to pull my tongue back a little bit. I can keep the air flowing, but it's the difference between the two tongue positions. Also, if I'm saying something like, yes, thanks. Yes, thanks. There, the air gets a little bit stopped. The S, because my tongue moves forward and blocks it. Yes, thanks. So it's really about learning the position for the S and the TH, and then practicing a lot of combos of those. Okay. One question about, so cotton, I'm going to be covering very soon in Word of the Day class. For cordial, we have first syllable stress. We have the or diphthong, cordial. This D says the J sound like a J. And then we don't have eel here. We just have a schwa. So it sounds like cordial, Jill. Even a little bit like Jill or Joel, but not much vowel there in that second unstressed syllable. Okay, wonderful. And then we had a question about iron. Iron, we have the ire diphthong. So iron. I kind of think about that like iron. So even though it looks like iron, we don't say it that way. It's a diphthong or ire. Like fire, the iron. Yeah. Okay. I believe I do also have a video specifically about that word. So thank you for such a wonderful class today. These were great questions, lots of challenging words. I know these are going to help not only you, but other people watching this video later and those who didn't ask. So I really appreciate the high level of questions from today. Thanks so much for being a part of the class. And again, I apologize if I didn't get to all of your questions and requests. Do come back next week or leave me a comment and I'll direct you to some resources for those choices, or consider joining as a channel member and we'll follow up with your questions in our members class. I'll be back again tomorrow with another word of the day, and this week's members class will be on Saturday. So I hope to see you there. Thanks so much and enjoy the rest of your weekend. I look forward to seeing you in our next class. I'm Christine Dunbar from speechmodification.com. Remember, if you want to sound like a native speaker, you can do it. Speechmodification.com. Bye, everyone. Thanks for a great class.